ITIL 2011, the foundation course. It's also known as the ITIL Foundation Certificate in IT Service Management, ITSM. The purpose of ITIL Foundation Certificate is in IT Service Management is to certify that the candidate has gained the knowledge of ITIL terminologies. We have a lot of terminologies which has been very specifically used in the service management world. So we will see all these terminologies. We'll see the structure and some of the basic concepts that has been comprehended, the core principles of ITIL practice for service management. The whole modules we have distributed into certain units. The first one, the unit 1, these are the objectives which we have, which says like service management as a practice. After completing this unit, you will be able to understand why ITIL is successful, why all IT service provider needs, and most of the organization has mandated ITIL Foundation course. Why is it? What made organization to mandate all these courses? So we'll see why ITIL is successful. ITIL is a best practice. So what best practice means, and basically these are some of the best practice in public domain. We will see into that. One of the key is what is a service? That's one of the main reason we have to understand what is all service about. Why customer is coming to us, to understand the customer and to provide value to the customer. So we'll be seeing what exactly the definition of service is from the perspective of ITIL. We will also discuss about internal and external customers. What do you mean by internal and what do you mean by external customers? Service management. What exactly is service management all about? What do we need to provide the service to the customer? So we'll get a holistic view of service management. In specific, what we are going through ITIL 2011 is based on IT service management. Right? How is IT being used to deliver value to the customer? So that's going to be one of the focuses which we will be seeing into that. Stakeholders. Who are the key stakeholders who we have to focus on from a service management perspective? Right. And last, we'll be seeing process and function. What exactly you mean by process? And what are the functions? What exactly you mean by functions? Why do we need process and functions in IT service management to deliver value to the customer? Right. So that's going to be the overall objective of the first unit, which is going to be service management as a practice. IT industry challenges. We have a lot of industry challenges, though I'm going to list very few of them, which are going to be the key challenges. One of the first challenges is dependency of business on technology has increased dramatically. Right. So we have business is completely dependent and IT is one of the enablers. We need IT to make sure that business is able to achieve their goals, whatever the goals they have set into it. So how is IT going to help business to deliver value to the end user or end customer? That's going to be one of the main focus, and that's going to be how are we going to overcome that particular challenge and how ITIL or how IT service management helps to overcome that particular challenge. Increasing demand for workforce with specific skills. Technology has been changing very fast. So we have been talking about service management, then we are talking about like waterfall. Now waterfall has been changed into Scrum, Agile. So all these are something specific skills which the service provider needs to provide value to the customer. So how are we going to manage that particular demand of the workforce with specific skills? Use of latest technology. As I said earlier itself, the technology has been changing quite fast. So how are we going to adapt to this technology? Without adapting, we will be laid out. So we have to see how are we going to adopt this and how are we going to deliver what the customer wants. And importance of infrastructure management services. It's IMS. We also talk something about RIMS, which is going to be like remote infrastructure management services. So these are some of the challenges which IT industry is having currently. So surely ITIL is not going to help or overcome all these challenges, but it could be a bridge. How IT service management is going to help you to bridge all these challenges and give the value. That's the whole focus which you're going to look into that. the case for IT service management. Why do we need IT service management? As we discussed the challenges, the business is more and more dependent on IT, complexity of IT consistently increasing. Customers are demanding more for less. Right? One of the challenge which CIO or CTO has it is to cut down the cost of IT. Everyone feels that they've been spending a lot of money. So how are we going to cut down the cost, but it should not impact the value what we are delivering to the customers? How are we going to do that? And customers are becoming smart day by day. So how are we going to give what the customer wants by reducing some of the main cost? What exactly is it? Is it going to be the change in strategy, or is it going to be a change in design or a transition methodology? What's going to make or what's going to deliver value by reducing the cost? That's going to be one of the challenges. Global competitiveness growing at a rapid rate, requiring a more flexible approach to integration. Competition has been everywhere nowadays in IT. A lot of service provider worldwide. We have a lot of countries we have started providing all these services. So how are we going to match with other customers or other service provider and deliver value to the customer? That's going to be the other focus into it. Strong focus on controlling the cost of IT. As I said earlier itself, CTO and CIO has these challenges of controlling the costs, but to deliver the same value which they have been doing, in how they are going to do that, right? And one of the main need which we want to focus on is going to be low customer satisfaction level. Customer is not happy with the service what has been provided with service providers. Why? What exactly is the reason like customer is not happy? So service management tries to understand the reason behind why customer is not happy so that we are able to give what the customer wants. That's going to be the key focuses. So this is where the case of IT service management comes into it. We will see how IT service management is going to overcome and help all the challenges whichever is in the IT infrastructure world. Why ITIL is successful. I've been using this word ITIL since I started, but just most of you might be familiar, but just wanted to repeat what ITIL stands for. It's going to be Information Technology Infrastructure Library. When I use the word infrastructure, it's not going to be only the hardware part which we are going to focus on. We are going to see like how people, process and technology is going to help the service provider to give value to the customers. The word library is, when it was started earlier in 1980s, they had different set of books. They had 30 set of books. They said, okay, all these are collection of books. So let's give the name called library. So that's how the whole abbreviation is, Information Technology Infrastructure Library. What are the key characteristics which we are focusing on? These are the three characteristics which OGC, Office of Government Commerce, or Axios has given on that. So it's going to be, first one is vendor neutral. It's independently owned by an aggregating body. Earlier in 1980, the whole concept started from a UK government, which was OGC, Office of Government Commerce. Now at this moment, independently it is owned by Axios. So even Microsoft, like no one owns it, like it's not any technology dependent Oracle, or so it is independently owned by an aggregating body. That's why it's going to be a vendor neutral. It's non-prescriptive. When I say non-prescriptive, it's applicable to all type of service organization. And one of the thing is ITIL talks about what to do. It's ITIL not very clearly says how to do it. It can be different from organization to organization, but it very specifically says what to do it. And ITIL is always referred as set of best practices. We will see what exactly best practices means, but at this moment it's just to say that updated to reflect lessons and experience. A lot of IT organization has learned a lot of lessons. So all this has been combined and all these has been defined as best practice, which has been considered in this. ITIL is a descriptive framework. We are not talking about a standard. Though we have a standard for IT service management, which is ISO 20000. So ITIL is not a standard, ITIL is a descriptive framework, right? It's not a method or it's not a tool which we are talking about. So we have different tools which is being used in service management world. which we have like ServiceNow, BMC Remedy, we have Manage Engine, we have a lot of other tools. But as far as ITIL is concerned, it's in descriptive framework. When I say a descriptive framework, what I mean is it's a systematic approach. Is all these approaches to provide high quality IT service, right? ITIL aligns IT service with business requirements. There are some business requirements, how these business requirements are, and how are we going to overcome and help to understand that. That's one of the focus. ITIL is all about providing optimal service at a justifiable cost. Right? These are the key reasons why ITIL has been successful. So these are the three key reasons why ITIL has been successful, as I said. Just to repeat on: vendor neutral, non-prescriptive, set of best practices. Let's do or try to understand what we mean by best practice. Best practice is a set of guidelines based on best experiences. It could be from any organization. They have experienced it and they have got benefit out of that. Right? That's why the definition says best practice is a set of guidelines based on best experience of the most qualified and experienced professional in a particular field. And the field which we are referring over here is completely on IT and IT service management. So these are, once again, best practice is based on more than one person, right? It is based on more than one organization, more than one technology, more than one event. Easy to understand is we can say all these are proven practice. Someone has already proved it, and if you follow within your organization, you will be able to get best results out of that. That's the all idea about this best practice all about. Sources of best practices. What are the sources which helps organization to provide? There are different sources. All the organization can take these sources, and with the help of these sources, they can deliver value to the customers. So these are some of the sources which we are talking about. We have standards. As I said, ISO 20000 is one of the standard. There are industry practices, academic research, there are training and education. So the source what we are providing over here is we are providing training and education in IT world. And Livewire has been doing this efficiently for all the IT related components. So we have become one of the source of best practices. And there are internal experiences. Within organization, there are some internal experience. All these could be taken as a source and you could develop the best practices which is there. These are some of the enablers. Your employee within your organization, your customers, your suppliers. There are some advisors and technology. All these are some of the enablers which could be used to deliver value to the customers what they want into that. Key drivers. We have substitutes, there are some substitutes. Regulators, sometimes like simple example is banking comes up with a regulation saying that security, like 2 level of security, like dual security has been given into that. So these are some of the drivers which has been taken into service management and we are able to provide the value. And we have some customers who are driving saying that I want to move, I want to use the technology, the latest technology what has been. So these are some of the drivers of best practices. And some of the scenarios which why we need all these best practice. Why should I follow this best practice? One of the reason is competition. If you don't follow, you will be left out. So to be on the race, you have to follow some of these best practices. Sometimes there are compliance. As I gave an example of banking environment, security becomes a compliance. Like online banking, so security becomes one of the compliance which comes up from the banking regulation body. So you have to follow into that. And obviously the commitment. There are some commitments from a service provider to deliver value to the customers. How are they going to do that? So these are the different scenarios. So mainly we are focusing on sources, enablers, drivers, and scenarios to see to that the knowledge is fit for business and is able to fulfill the business objective, context, and the purpose of the organizations. Let's have a look of the ITIL journey. Now we are talking about like ITIL V3 2011. So when ITIL started and what were the different versions of ITIL which we are focusing on. As I said, the whole concept of ITIL started in 1980, and that was like ITIL version 1. And the main focus was stability and control of IT infrastructure. So it was mainly focused from a technology provider. How are we going to manage vendor? How efficiently we can manage vendor? So they came up with some process which was very specifically for IT infrastructure management processes. The next version, which came in like 2001, so we had like ITIL version 2, right, which is more focused on business IT alignment. They started realizing that business is over dependent on IT, how to align business and IT, that was one of the main focus, and quality and efficiency of IT processes were also taken into consideration, which was into ITIL version 2. Currently, as I said, ITIL 2011, which was in October 2007, which was introduced into that. Right. The main focus of ITIL is to say that we are all partners, and when we say partners, we are all business partners. So business and IT service integration and value generation. As a business, let's all combine hands and see to that we are generating value to the customer. That's the main focus on to that. So the service management is mainly focusing for business and technology. That's going to be ITIL V3 2011. Right? So version V3 was introduced in October 2007, and there were some updates which was done in 2011. That's why they are giving the name called as ITIL 2011, but the version remains same. It's ITIL version 3. It's ITIL V3 2011, and the focus is mainly on business IT service integration. What are the ITIL goals? A huge list of goals goes on. I've just taken a couple of them to aligning with the business. So first one says align IT service with business needs. So what it means is understand the requirement. What are the current requirement? What are the future requirements? Understand the customer requirement and try to give the value and fulfill the business needs. That's going to be the first one which we are focusing on. Improve the quality of IT services. Sometimes business is not happy with the service. There are a lot of interruptions in the service. Availability of a service becomes a question mark. Security of a service becomes a obstacle for the service provider. So how are we going to improve that? And how are we going to give the availability and the security what the customer wants? That's going to be one of the key goals which we have into it. And obviously, on a long term, how are we going to reduce the long-term cost of provisioning IT? Day by day, cost is increasing for provision of IT services. Business is not able to allocate budgets. So as I said, business wants, or the customer wants more service for less. In that case, how are we going to reduce the long-term cost? That's going to be some of the goals which ITIL. As I said, the list goes on. We have taken the main key components or main key goals of ITIL to focus on. So these are the 3 goals which we will focus on. And end of the course, you will be able to identify or you will be able to understand how ITIL is able to help or to achieve this certain goals into that. Okay, we have discussed about what are the goals. Let's also think about what are the benefits which we have. ITIL provides certain benefits. What are these benefits which we have into it? One of the main benefit which we are focusing on is to say that clear structure of organization. What it means is we understand the requirement of customer. Based on that, we are able to structure ourselves. As I said, if you want to reduce the cost, it has to be a lean organization. So how are you going to? So you have to understand. You cannot just go and reduce people. You have to see, you have to understand the structure of organization. So ITIL says clearly understand the requirement, and based on the requirement, we will be able to structure of the organization. Control infrastructure services, we are able to control it. There are certain processes which very clearly controls the infrastructure. How are we going to control the infrastructure and how are we going to completely manage the service? That's going to be certain benefits which we have. Improved decision making. When we have information or when we have data about all the services, we will be able to understand how can we make better decision moving on, how we will take better decision. So that's also some of the focuses which we have. Financial management. That's one of the key concerns with the organization have. How are we going to manage the budget? What is going to be the budget of the next year? So for that, we need a lot of information which has to be stored into that. So we will see how ITIL, or how the process called financial management for IT services, helps us to focus on something called like accounting, budgeting, how efficiently we will be able to do that. Improved service availability. As I said earlier, the main focus of customer is they want the service to be available. So how are we going to provide? Nowadays we use this buzzword called 99.99% availability. How are we going to give this 99.99? And once again, if we want to provide 99.99, that there is a cost associated with it. How are we able to overcome the cost which is associated with that? So what it means is, how are we going to design a solution which is going to be cost effective and at the same time provide the service what the customer wants? And at last, as I said, it's going to be all this what we are doing is for the customer. Is customer happy with the service what we are providing? So that's the main focus which we are going to look into that. These are some of the benefits, or these are some of the value add which is going to add value to the customer and make sure that customer is satisfied with the service which is being provided. And these are some of the benefits which ITIL focuses on. The same information what I've shown in previous slides, I've just given. What are the benefits to the organization? So provision of IT service becomes more customer focused. Continual improvement in the delivery of quality of IT services. When I say continual improvement, you have to understand the service better. Once you understand the service better, then only you will be able to provide a better service. And at the same time, you want to manage quality. We use this buzzword Six Sigma. We will not be able to achieve Six Sigma without moving from First Sigma. So One Sigma, Two Sigma, it goes on. So how are you going to manage that? So better management of quality is going to be. Communication is one of the challenge with IT organization because we work in silos. So what is the benefit? So improved communication and better working relationship between IT and the business is going to be one of the benefits which you are going to do it. The ability to absorb a higher rate of change with an improved measurable rate of success. Change management is one of the key processes which we will be looking into that. So everyone is worried about change. And as I said, we to keep ourselves competitive in market, we have to keep changing. How are we going to absorb these changes and at the same time make sure that these changes are not impacting the service anyway? So how is that going to be done into that? Process and procedures, right? We will come across some process and procedure that can be audited for compliance to best practice guidelines. So these are all overall benefits which ITIL is going to provide and organization is going to get into.